When do you plan to move there and reduce your trips? Stephen asked. I'm guessing it's going to happen soon, Miles replied. Grace is gradually getting into the idea. Why are you delayed? I'm sorry, but it's none of my business, Miles. But you already mentioned that she doesn't like her job in Arizona. I have no doubt that she will find something more exciting in Kansas. This is definitely a step forward for you as a general manager, but you shouldn't stay too long. Liam will retire at the end of next month. Of course, I did not hide the fact that you are a candidate for this position, but if you do not make a decision in the next 6 weeks, we will have to consider other candidates. Thank you for your patience, Stephen. I feel a little upset myself. Lately, Grace has stopped voicing her grievances against Arizona and seems to be coming up with reasons to avoid moving. Perhaps my absence from this trip will tip the scales. I'll be out from Tuesday to Friday. I plan to talk to Grace about moving over the weekend and will give you a final answer on Monday. Interestingly, Miles began to doubt Grace's intentions. It seems there must be a reason for her sudden increase in happiness at work. Miles didn't have any solid leads, but he couldn't help but think that she might have met someone else. This could explain her reluctance to leave. So he came up with a plan, more like half a plan. He arranged with Liam that he would work in the evenings from Tuesday to Thursday and leave early on the last day. At the same time, he informed Grace that he would not be back until Sunday. Thus, she will have enough opportunities to settle a relationship with a potential lover, if there is one. This plan had its drawbacks. He let Miles come back from Kansas between Thursday and Saturday to check on her. He didn't know where he would stay if she was in their house, or what he would do if he found her with someone else. The situation was becoming more and more uncertain. His absence would have been especially noticeable since Friday marked their 30th wedding anniversary. He had already expressed his regrets to Grace for missing such an important event. To make amends, they have scheduled a big meeting next weekend, which will be attended by all their relatives and friends. The absence of another man in her life might have prompted her to think about leaving. On Tuesday morning, they kissed goodbye, and as he was driving to the airport, an idea struck him. Although she told him not to worry about the flowers, he decided to stop by the flower shop anyway. The store had just opened and was busy taking orders. 2 girls were checking fresh supplies, and the third was dealing with a customer who came even earlier. Miles scanned the storefronts, watching the man in the suit get more and more upset. I'm sorry, sir, but even with the extra £5, we can only promise delivery within an hour, namely between 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening. The man replied, But I have dinner booked for 6:30 p.m., and I need the flowers on the table right after we place the order. Maybe I should look for another place. The seller replied, You can do that, sir, but I can assure you that no other flower shop offers such precise delivery. Please deliver the bouquet to the hotel reception. I will write you the address, please, as soon as possible after 6 p.m. Ideally, he should be there before 6:30 p.m. I will attach an additional note to the desk clerk asking him to give the flowers to me, Mr. Brown. They can leave the bouquet at the reception and give it to me right after my wife and I book a table. We already have reservations for Friday and Saturday, so they'll know who I am. The girl paused for a moment. On Friday, we can arrange with the courier to deliver the first batch to the hotel after 6 p.m. You can write a note to the hotel and specify your room number. Our courier will give it to them, and I'm sure they will be happy to help you with a surprise dinner as part of their usual services. That sounds great. Thank you, but I would like a personal note for your wife to be placed in a sealed envelope to avoid misunderstandings. Is it okay if I read it one last time before I seal it? He looked around and met Miles's gaze. Miles smiled and looked at the red roses. The man smiled. Sure, come on. The note read, Happy anniversary to my dear Grace. I wish you to enjoy orange juice for another 30 years. It's Grace through and... Yes, exactly. Keep the change for yourself. He paid and left. Miles froze in place for a moment. Although the cold was biting, beads of sweat stood out under his collar. After all, it was their wedding anniversary this Friday, and Grace through and was undoubtedly his. Miles often joked that he preferred orange juice to champagne, but the reality of her infidelity was much worse. It was time to think about divorce. How could she have been involved with another man for 30 years, throughout their marriage, and yet Miles had no idea about anything? Did that guy leave a tip for her? He turned to the girl. Yes, she replied. Usually people don't leave tips at the time of ordering, but sometimes customers come after to compliment us on how the flowers turned out. They usually bring chocolates instead of money, but this is not prohibited. Oh, don't worry about it. I also plan to tip you. What amount did he give you? Actually, £3. Well, I'll give you a little more. I need your advice on choosing the perfect flowers for my anniversary, as well as clear delivery instructions. I will compensate you for the confidentiality. Please keep this between us. Don't tell the other two girls about it. When he got on the freeway, he called Stephen and said that he had talked to Grace the night before and was definitely interested in a job in Kansas. 10 minutes later, Liam called to confirm it. I will prepare the contract for your arrival, Miles, he said. Stephen said that you can get to work whenever you want. Do you want to finish early this week? Of course, I would appreciate it. I have to go home and start packing. It was 6:40 p.m., and the couple ordered dinner, completely oblivious to the surroundings. William was wearing a smart black suit, and Grace was wearing a timeless little black dress. The dress was a little too short and revealed the top of the black stockings when she crossed her legs. When she leaned forward, he realized that she was not wearing a bra. They raised glasses of champagne, and their toasts were accompanied by a soft clang. Congratulations on your anniversary, my love, he said. Thank you, my love, she replied, raising her glass. It took you a long time to decide on dinner, he remarked with a smile. It's not my fault, she replied playfully. In the restaurant, the waiter kept pushing different dishes. Of course, she said, rolling her eyes. He couldn't help himself. He seemed to lean towards you a lot. As soon as he offered something, his gaze would turn to you, he teased. I really hope you're not feeling jealous, she said, raising an eyebrow. No, of course not, he replied with a grin. Rather, I am jealous of your husband. He can enjoy all these beautiful curves whenever he pleases, and he also has easy access to all the other charms that you are hiding. I've been keeping my little strawberries, as you call them, out of his reach for weeks now. In fact, you've been using my charms for more time than he has. Next weekend, I'll let him enjoy me for an alternate anniversary, but I'm not wearing panties today. I thought you'd prefer me like this for the weekend. This is a great idea. I think I'll have a fruit salad for dessert. First of all, I will enjoy your strawberries, and then I will drink orange juice, and who knows what else I might find under your dress. Sounds tempting. You can take whatever you want under my dress. I'll settle for something warm and white. You always want to offer a lot more than Miles. Oh, that was fast. The waiter returned, but not with the food. He presented a magnificent bouquet of 30 red roses. Happy anniversary, Mrs. Brown, he said. Turning confidently, he walked away. Petty beamed as she opened the envelope and read the note. You're so romantic, William. I wish I'd really been with you all this time. However, now it's all in the past. More than 30 years ago, you noticed my birthmark. Can you believe that? After all, you've always been a little tricky. How many times has it been? 4? You introduced me to a few of the first ones, but there is one special place that has always belonged only to you. It was your colleague's brilliant idea to hire me as a stripper for your bachelorette party, he said. And coming to work in your office 2 months ago was the best decision of your life. I can't believe you recognized me after all these years. Grace, you haven't changed at all. Maybe your orange got a little fuller and none of your friends told Miles about it. No way. He won't find out now. With the right scenario, we will be able to catch up. Leaning across the table, she kissed him. When she pulled back, a flash caught her attention. Grace turned and saw a man standing next to their table, as if he had been there for a long time. His face was hidden behind a large bouquet of flowers, and the phone with which he took the picture lay in front of him. What are you doing? Delete this photo immediately, she shouted, attracting curious glances from those around her. Happy anniversary, Grace. Miles carefully removed the roses from the table and put his own in their place. There's no note here, Miles remarked. The flowers should convey everything. He presented a bouquet of white lilies, red poppies, and 2 unique black roses, one for her and one for himself. Each of these flowers symbolizes death. In this case, they symbolize the end of our marriage. Grace's eyes widened in shock and her mouth twisted. William leaned back in his chair, trying to distance himself from the unfolding tense situation. With a sudden movement, Miles grabbed William by the hair, pulled his head back, and shoved something into his mouth. Don't worry, gentlemen, it's just a game. He glanced at Grace. It's all over now. What did you put in his mouth? In an instant, William squeezed his nose and a bottle of champagne was in his mouth. He was gasping for breath, and 2 waiters began to approach the scene. Once Miles was sure William had swallowed, he let him go. William's suit and shirt were drenched in champagne, and he stood up coughing. Miles then turned to the approaching people in suits. Don't worry, gentlemen. We just played a little bit, he said, glancing at Grace. It's already been done. So what did you put in his mouth? She screamed, her voice cutting through the air. It was something much more mundane than the words you might have expected. It was my wedding ring. He leaned over and said to Grace, This is a ring that symbolizes 30 years of your love. Now, it's in the same place as our marriage. By the time you manage to get it, if you need it at all, I'll be in Kansas. You'll have to look for a new place to live, since the house is registered in my name, and you're going to need a divorce lawyer. As he left, he put something in front of William. Enjoy your dessert, idiot. It was a small orange. The last 2 months have been like hell for Grace. The lack of money has not given her the opportunity to hire a lawyer. The locks were replaced in the house where she had been married for 30 years. In her old age, Grace had nowhere to go, because her and Miles's children lived very far away. William, worried about his marriage, broke off all relations with Grace. She was heartbroken. Grace also understood that Miles would sue for everything they had made. The evidence of infidelity that he filmed on his phone would play an important role in the divorce.